And hello, and welcome to episode 6 of Shooting the Shit with Jim. My very special guest this week is Texas from Texas Hardcore 1965. How are you today, sir?
I am doing well, sir. Thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor.
No, the honor is mine. I mean, we're good friends. We've done a couple of these things together, but not here. And
Right.
like I said, I'm really glad to get you on my channel, buddy. Before we begin, uh, before we get into my probing questions, and no, I don't want to sound like a proctologist here. Uh, why don't you give us a little bit update about yourself, Texas? Tell us about your channel and how you got started on YouTube.
Well, basically, how I got started on YouTube was I just would watch trailers and music videos, and then somehow I just kind of started discovering that there were other things out there. And then an ex-girlfriend of mine kind of got me into the crime community, which is like true crime and drama. But you know, I met some good people out there, but then a lot of these people that do their channels out there, you know, I think they're crazy. And so it's like, so this one friend of mine, when there was this sort of war going on between some people, she's like, I don't want you hanging out there and this and that, because these people will, they'll fuck you up, if you get involved in any of this stuff. And she's like, just don't go, into any of these places, and I was like, okay. So, I stopped kind of doing that. I mean, I still follow, like, the people that I like, but because of that, I started seeing, like, oh wow, there's people doing horror stuff. And then that, because of the pandemic, the guys in Dead Pit, they started doing a YouTube channel. And I was watching them for a while, got kind of involved with one of their, you know uh I can't say partner, because they don't really speak to this person anymore, and there was a falling out between me and her of her own volition. But I would, I'd get on streams there, and I really didn't know anything about getting, on my channel. And then when I started my channel, it said, you have to have at least 50 people. So I had to do that. But I met Sean, I think off of Grande's Graveyard, and I'd see him around and stuff. And then one night he just asked me if I wanted to join him in Juneau, and I said, sure, why not? Then, I got, so he helped me. He was, you know, a big part of helping me get my channel started. And then it just sort of went from there.
Speaking of Sean, there he is right there,
Uh,
Cinephile World Order. Hello, brother. How you doing today, buddy? And yeah, Sean is one of the guys that originally talked me into going live. So we have something in common with that connection. And can't say enough about Sean. He's a great guy.
oh yeah,
And
definitely.
definitely going to be having him on as a guest very soon. So, Sean, thank you so much for everything, buddy. And let's just say hello to some of the people in the chat here very quickly. We've got Sailor Outlaw George Ishak. Hello, George. Thank you so much for being here, buddy. We've got Holland Oates here. Hello, Holland. How are you? We've got Jeff all the way from the Netherlands. Hello, Jeff at 101 Bronson. I'm going to be getting you on here as well very soon. And there is Mike from Mike's DVD and Blu-ray collection. Hello, brother, and thank you for being here. And yes, Mike will be on this show in about a month.
Oh,
He will be
excellent.
on episode 8, but we will announce the particulars of that at a later time. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We've got 7 people in the chat right now. All right, so let's talk some movies here, Tex.
All right.
I always ask everybody this question. What was the earliest theatrical movie that you can remember seeing? Whether it's a Disney movie, whether it's a adult type movie, whatever. What's the first movie you remember seeing at a theater?
Well, there's actually a few at the drive-in. I
Okay.
remember, I remember seeing In Search of the Castaways, which is a
Wow.
Disney film.
Disney
Yeah,
flick, yeah.
yeah, and one of my favorites. And over the years, I'd forgotten what it was called, and all I remembered was, like, there was this, like, I want to say it's like I guess a falcon, or might have been an eagle, goes and picks somebody up and puts them in the nest and all that. And that was like an image that had been burned in my brain. And I kept trying to find it. And I remember just the one word, castaways. And then one time I was at a Toys R Us when they were, the Disney videos were popular, and they had just about their whole catalog out there. And I'm just going through the movies, and my eye happened to, see it. I was like, oh shit, I got to buy this. And then I told my ex-wife, I'm like, this is the one I was telling you about. We got to watch this. Well, we watched it. And then it all came back to me and stuff. And I was just like, wow, and then I remember my dad taking me and his girlfriend at the time, because my parents were split, to see Gone with the Wind. I don't remember much of it, because that's a long movie for like a 5-year-old to watch, but I remember passing out, and stuff. But I do remember the fires on the plantation and stuff like that. But I'd say those two. But my mom used to take me to a lot of the Disney movies when I was a kid. So
awesome. Yeah, driving is my first, memory, and then I've got, like you, movies in that same general time frame that kind of blend in together. But you never forget that first one. What about video? Do you remember, like, because you're a collector like I am, do you remember the first movie you bought on physical media, regardless if it was VHS, DVD, Blu-ray?
On VHS, I think. Oh no, okay, yeah. The first VHS was definitely Purple Rain, because my stepdad bought our first VCR, and he was like, do you want to get a movie? And I said, yeah. And I had gone to see Purple Rain in the theater. I saw it like 7 times in the theater. And I was like, okay, yeah, I want this one. And it didn't cost us all that much, even though that's when the prices were high as hell. But I think we paid $40 for it, which, at that time wasn't bad,
No, not at all.
That,
Didn't know you were a big Morris Day in the Time fan.
Who? No,
no, that movie's great. And one of the best soundtracks ever. One of the best soundtracks ever. Real quickly, I just wanted to acknowledge here real quick. Sean says, thanks, Jim. I never thought I'd get into streaming, but now it's what I like to do most on here. Yeah, me too, bud. I didn't even go on camera for a year into my channel because I was very self-conscious. And once you get into that bug and start talking to people, it's addictive, man. I love it. It's probably my favorite thing to do on here now too. Okay. Now you were talking about that image from the Castaways that kind of burned into your brain. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the first movie that you think of that really turned you into a movie fan? The thing that transformed you from somebody who liked movies to somebody that thought, wow, this is what a movie can be.
Well, okay, like a lot of my early knowledge about film came from like two books. There was Cult Movies by Danny Peary, which I've talked to you about before.
Yeah, we talked about that
stuff. And then there's another book by the Abrams brothers, actually, the Golden Turkey Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And they just like butchered like a whole bunch of like movies. But I'm like, well, this can't be all bad if the experiences they're talking about, And so because of like those two books, I set out to like, watch like a whole bunch of the movies that were in there and stuff. And I think the movie, it's my all-time favorite movie that really solidified it for me because of Danny Peary's writing was It's a Wonderful Life. I'd never heard of it, and stuff. And then like when it was, he would say, oh, it usually is on around Christmas time. And I'm like, I've never seen this, or whatever. And so then I just remember one night I'm turning the cable tuner when you still had one of those instead of a remote. And I'm like looking at this, this black and white image, and it's, like snow and all this thing. And I see Jimmy Stewart, and I'm like, no way, this has got to be it. And I watched it, I just it was so enthralling, and I just thought, man, this is crazy. This is so, just exactly like he described it, you know. And to me, that I think that really, you know, I mean, because I would go see stuff in the theater, and you wouldn't, you know, something you would talk about with your friends, but it wasn't anything. There wasn't anything that's like, oh, yeah, okay, or make me want to learn more about films and things like that, you know, and stuff. And so, you know, and you know, my vision is now all. Whenever I watch a film, I'm not just watching the acting. I'm watching like how it's shot and, you
Yeah.
know, everything, you know, and stuff. And so, you know, but that was really like the first film I think that, you know, spoke to me on a level of like, you know, this is a, you know, a piece of art. This is a work of art, you know, and stuff like that.
Zuzu pedals.
Yes.
Yeah, I told you about that. That I the first time I ever heard the name Zuzu pedals was in that horrible Andrew Dice Clay movie, Ford Fairlane. And I saw that movie before I saw It's a Wonderful Life, believe it
Right.
or not. And didn't get the joke at the time, but then when I saw It's a Wonderful Life, it clicked, and it was like, okay, that's probably the best joke in that whole stupid ass movie, you know. But yeah. Real quickly, I just want to go back into the chat real quick, see who's here. Yam Yam's here. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Thank you so much for being here, my friend. And we have your other partner in crime from the CWO Nation, Juno
Yep.
2000.
Mr. Juno.
Hello, Juno. How you doing today, buddy? I promise I won't be giving you any dick jokes today to make you laugh uncontrollably. Although the show is still young, we might need to kill some time. And we got one of my partners in crime, Sean from Movie Assault, from the Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim. How you doing, my friend? Thank you so much for being here today as well.
So we have the double barrel of both Sean's in
That's
the
right.
house.
We're gonna get
Finally,
confused
you know,
here.
so,
All we need now is a
yeah.
couple of my Daniel friends, and we'll really get fucked up. Okay.
Where the hell is Kenny? You know, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
main
Kenny
thing.
will be here at some point, I'm sure. Okay, now let's talk genres of films. What are some of your favorite genres?
Well, horror, of course, and then I'd say like trash, you know, like early John Waters, you know, stuff, and you know, just you know, I don't know, certain different things that you know, I guess can be classified as trash, you know, or whatever. But yeah, definitely horror. I love coming of age films and whatnot, and I just pretty much, you know, I mean, I pretty much like, you know, all genres, but I mean, I'm cautious when it comes to, you know, romantic films. I'm just like, nah, I'm not gonna watch that. You know, it's like, well, this one looks good, and then if it, you know, it turns out to be good, you know, stuff. But like, no, you know.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up. What you got any least favorite genres? And
Yeah, that would sort probably be, you know, I mean, to me, like Hallmark and Lifetime movies, those are the devil. So I stay away from those, you know. It's,
oh, you
you
and
know.
Patrick will have words, man. He loves those things. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Between rom-coms and those saccharine love stories that are just there to manipulate you, I can't deal with them, man. I can't deal with them. There are
Well,
exceptions, you know. There
well,
are
those,
exceptions.
you know, like with the Lifetime films, sometimes it's like they always try to do these like true crime movies that are just so awful. I got suckered into one time on the Hollow Man, I think it was, or some shit. Uh, one of you know where these girls killed their friend in this in you know the woods, and they
Oh,
said
the
it was
Slender Man.
Slender Man. Yeah, so there was a
Yes.
Lifetime movie based on that shit, and I saw like I watched it because I didn't know it was a Lifetime movie, and then you know, and I you know, but I read the synopsis and I'd seen the other one already, I think. So I thought, well, maybe this one's truer to the case, you know, or whatever. And it's just like, you go into these things thinking, okay, not that they'd be ultra violent or anything, but there'd at least be something, and they're just bland as hell. It's just like,
Yeah.
ugh, I was like, why did I watch this? I want this hour and a half of my life back.
Yeah, that
Fucking
shit
awful.
happened about 30 miles from where I live now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that they just released one of the two girls out of jail. Now she's in like a halfway house or some shit, for crazy people or whatever. Whatever. But yeah, it's been on the news quite a bit here in the Milwaukee area. Okay, Yam's got a question for you.
Okay.
Who are your two favorite actors of all time, and who are your two favorite actresses of all time? His
Wow.
are Nick Nolte and Ray Liotta, and Jodie Foster and Melissa George.
That's a hard one though, because I that's like a thing that changes almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I'd say like Kurt Russell, definitely. And oh man. Right now, yeah, I'd say Kurt Russell and Sam Rockwell. And then as far as my favorite actress, I'd say Susan Sarandon and um I'm gonna go with Chloe Sevigny.
Oh, wow, that's a deeper one. Yeah, for a second there, I didn't know who you were talking about, and then it clicked in my head. No, I wasn't thinking about the brown bunny. Good question, Yam. I'd say at the moment, my two favorites. I mean, my favorite guy of all time, and these are favorites, not best. Okay, but I've always loved Clint Eastwood, and I've always loved Kurt Russell. So those two would be the actors, and my actresses, Sigourney Weaver. And lately, I've been obsessed with Tilda Swinton. She's just phenomenal. So those would be my answers. So thank you. Appreciate that, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. That's a good
And
question.
he also says, with me being a film fan, I like all genres, especially horror and action and black and white dramas. With my least favorites been superheroes and sci-fi and musicals, but I do like some from them genres. Yeah, there's exceptions to everything. I'm not a musical guy either, but there's definitely some musicals that I love. We also got Words and Pictures is here. Hello, how are you today? Thank you for being here.
Yep. Thank you.
And Mr. Dan in Horror. Hey guys, with the granddaughters, we'll catch the replay. Hey, no problem, buddy. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope everything's great with the family. Okay, we're going to do one more follow-up from Yam, and then I'm going to go back to my stuff here. He says, what film would you say you've probably seen the most? Mine is by far Scarface. I couldn't say how many times I've seen it, and I could pretty much call the film word for word. So yeah, do you know what movie you've seen more times than anything?
Well, that's another one where there's several answers, but one would be It's a Wonderful Life, of course, because I try to watch it at least once a year. New Year's Evil is another one, because I'll do several rewatches of that a year.
Me and you watched that together recently.
Yeah. And then Kneecap, which I had the stream for that the other night, and I watched that 5 times before I did the stream for that. And then of course, like I had mentioned, Purple Rain. And then I'd say the Sparks Brothers documentary, I've seen that probably like 9 times. So
I've seen Animal House 350 times.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could keep count of a movie though that I've seen so many times. I just kind of in my head, I'm like, oh, I've seen this,
Yep. Animal House is definitely number one on my list. I haven't watched it in years, but yeah, that I was obsessed with that movie for years and watched it over and over and over and over. And Pulp Fiction would probably be number 2, because I've seen that one well over 100 times.
I've seen Jackie Brown a lot. But I mean, the OG Star Wars, the first one, and Empire, I've seen both of those countless times. I mean, I actually yeah, when he was talking about reciting the dialogue, from Scarface, I could do, I used to know fucking Star Wars word for word. So,
Yeah, see, I like the TV dub on Scarface more than the actual dialogue. How'd you get that scar, tough guy eating pineapple? We've also got subjective perspective collective here.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Dirk.
Yep, Dirk. The Shining for me. What's happening, y'all? Thank you for being here, Dirk. I appreciate it. And then he says The Exorcist and the original Chainsaw Massacre would probably be up there too for him.
I've seen TCM, countless times as well.
And Yam says, I love Grease, Oliver, and Wizard of Oz for musicals. I can't stand Wizard of Oz, but that's for personal reasons.
I mean, when I was younger, I used to watch that a lot, just because I always wasn't really because of the musical things. I just always liked the splendor of it and stuff like that. But, I don't think I could really, maybe watch it once every 5 years if I decided to, or something like that,
Yeah, those fucking flying monkeys used to freak me out when I was a little kid.
Yeah,
and they still freak me out. And I don't like the Wizard of Oz. I've never liked that movie.
I mean, as far as him mentioning Oliver, I think Oliver is fucking great. I love that,
Yeah, Oliver's a good movie.
But I mean,
here we go. Heroic Waffles is here. Hey, buddy, what's up? Long time no see. Thank you so
Waffles.
much for being here. I hope everything's going really well for you, my friend. And yeah, Dirk brings up a good point here. Wizard of Oz is great with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Yep, it is. It is. I tried that. I checked that out myself when I was wasted beyond. Yeah, we won't go into that story.
I just like trying to find the version where you can see the dwarf that hung himself.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's like, where is it?
And that's why he's called hardcore, people. Where's the hanging midget?
There's a dead guy in these woods.
Okay, we're going to play a game called Top 3. I've been doing this with a lot of people, but with you, I'm going to mix it up a little bit more than I usually do, okay?
All right.
So we're going to go, what are your, and these are off the top of your head, just whatever pops into your head, okay? It doesn't necessarily, you're not going to be beholden to these answers, okay?
All right.
Top 3, 70s exploitation films. Go.
Oh, shit. Truck Turner, Coffee, and Dolomite.
Very solid picks. Top 80s soundtracks.
Probably Fast Times. Breakfast Club. And Dazed and Confused.
Well, that's 90s, but I'll let it slide. No problem.
Okay.
Here we go. Top 80s sex comedies.
Well, Last American Virgin, even though it doesn't turn out to be a comedy in the end. But
it's a great movie, though.
So, yeah, Last American Virgin. Probably Porky's, I guess, and then oh man, I'm trying to think if it's there's the one. I want to say Private Lessons, which is good, but there's the one that has Matt Lanzani and that blonde chick, but I can't remember her name.
My Tutor.
Yeah, because it's sort of like, Private Lessons.
Karen K was her name?
Yeah, that's it.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, my mom took me to see that when I was 14.
Oh, I can tell you right now, my worst theater experience with my mom was seeing the R-rated version of Saturday Night Fever when I was 12.
Mhm.
And I mean, oh my God, and they start talking about, where like Travolta has that line. He goes, "I think I broke my pussy finger" and stuff. I mean, not that I had explored that avenue yet when I was a kid, but the fact that my mom said, and I'm just like, you know, it's like, oh fuck no, this is.
Yeah, no, she took me to see my tutor. She took me to see friggin' Risky Business, and my parents both took me to see The Shining when I was 12. And that bathtub scene, sitting in between my parents, that was uncomfortable to say the least. Okay, let's see who else we got here real quick. Yam says Judy Garland is my first ever crush. When I was a kid, about age 4, I used to kiss the telly screen when she was on the telly. And of course, my good friend Barry, aka Steven Seagal lover, is in the chat.
No, it's good to see Barry. I like Barry a lot.
He's awesome. Barry's one of my favorites. I did the superhero ranking the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Mr. Barry there had to drop a little comment saying, "Hey Jim, send those my way. I need a new set of coasters." So of course, I had to follow that up with, "Sure, no problem. We exchange that with the Steven Seagal coaster collection for me." But then again, I'd be using those to shoot skeet. So Barry's awesome. He's great. Yam says, my favorite soundtrack of all time is Kickboxer from '89. I used to listen to that religiously when I was working out, as well as The Wrestler, but that's 2008. And Jeff says, JCVD has entered. Now Seagal goes running. And let's see here. Dirk says, backslap that like button. Thank you so much, Dirk. I appreciate that. Yam says, Last American Virgin is an excellent soundtrack. Yeah, it is. Are You Ready for the Sex Girls? Great soundtrack. I like all the songs in that film. That was one of the reasons why that movie it took so long to show up on Blue. I think it was because of all the music rights.
Yeah, but I don't even think, well, at least on the version the one that I showed, the one that was on Prime, it still didn't have some of the original music, like the Jams Town Called Malice wasn't in it like it was in the original. There's still some issues, I guess, with some of this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember that's the reason why it took so long for heavy metal to show up on video, because they were fighting over that was on cable for years.
Yeah,
but
right.
then it took forever to show up on video because they were all fighting over the music rights and shit. So, because back then they didn't have those issues. All right, let's get back to my top 3 here. Top 3 70s dramas. And I know that encompasses a lot, but.
Wow. Wow. I'm just trying to think, because back then when I was watching stuff, I didn't watch dramas so much as, but I'm trying to think if there's anything over the years. I mean, like, only thing I can think of drama wise was like Ordinary People, right? Which was 79, I think.
That was 1980.
Okay, well,
close enough.
But I hated that movie,
Yeah, I hate that movie too. Great performances in it, but yeah, I don't like that movie.
I don't know. There's sometimes with some dramas, like when couples are arguing, it's just always like, I'm like, fuck, I don't need to watch this. I could just watch my mom and stepdad fight, Yeah. Oh man, I can't. I mean, that's a rough one for me, because I mean, I can think of action, I can think of just about anything else, but I can't really specifically think of any dramas or anything that even kind of interpolated.
Okay, let's change it then to 70s action.
right off the top would be Magnum Force, and oh geez, probably just about any Eastwood movie with Callahan. I mean that's pretty much all I can think of right now. But definitely Magnum Force off the top. Probably Gator and uh, Death Race, I guess.
Death Race 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, good pick. I love that movie. I love that movie so much. Okay. Top 3 canon films.
Top 3 canon films. Well, TCM 2, TCM 2.
Incoming mail.
I mean, I used to. Well, I'll go with like Enter the Ninja. I think because I think that was a canon film.
Yes, it was.
And
With the great Franco Nero.
Yeah.
Dubbed.
Other than that, I mean, those I kind of used to watch and not really. I mean, I guess Silent Rage. I'll say that one because that's a decent Norris one because it's all weird and fucked up and not his usual thing of
Yeah, that was damn near a horror movie.
Yeah, that's why I like that one.
Yeah, I saw that one at the drive-in too. Well, you could throw Last American Virgin in there too if you wanted.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
that is a canon film. Have you gotten around to seeing the Lemon Popsicle yet?
No, not yet.
Me neither. It's got me intrigued though.
Yeah,
it's got me intrigued. And some people on here are probably going, "What the hell are these two talking about?"
The thing about that one though is that I don't want to set myself up though for like the whole disappointment that the other one has at the end. Although I'm used to it now, but that was like the first movie I think I ever saw where I was just like, they're really gonna fucking end with this? Not like the end had to be rosy or whatever, but I was just like, fuck. But then unfortunately over the years I've ran into a few women who were like that, although I didn't go to the extremes of having to pay for someone's abortion, luckily, but just being with a certain person, was unlike an abortion, really, or getting rid of a fucking cancer. But those are stories for another time, kid.
Next week. That's awesome. And yeah, Dirk is also a big fan of TCM too. Yeah. Lick my plate. Yeah, I have the Arrow video Blu-ray of Last American Virgin. I think all the songs on that Blu-ray might be the ones. Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't own that one at this time, but I enjoy that movie until the last scene because that movie's it rips your heart out, man. Barry says I used to tape the soundtrack from Kickboxer and Bloodsport from the TV from my cassette player. Love both of those soundtracks and films. Kumite.
I used to like tape stuff from like the Midnight Special, off the TV, stuff,
I recorded Up the Academy, the entire movie on cassette. And then I actually memorized the movie and would be quoting it at school. I was in junior high at the time. None of my friends knew what the hell I was talking about. I'm walking through the halls going, say it again. Yeah. Tickle your ass with a feather. I said it's particularly nasty weather we're having.
Man, that movie is
it's great. So bad, but it's so great.
It is,
Directed by Robert Downey Jr.'s father. I mean, that's what gets me. Robert Downey directed that movie. Barry says, only a ninja can kill a ninja. That was definitely Franco Nero. Yeah, with a different voice. That's what gets me is they dubbed him like in the worst voice possible. Sydney is here.
I just love the fact that in that movie, there's that one scene where he has this weapon that looks kind of like a half crescent moon or whatever. and he fucking throws it and it just hits this dude in the forehead, and then the guy's like, and it's just like, oh my God. Because me and this friend of mine, we would do that. We'd be in the shopping mall or something, and we just look at each other and go, people probably thought we were nuts, so.
Nice. But yeah, Sydney's here. Thank you so much for being here, Sydney. Barry says Silent Rage is great. Love me some Chuck. Yeah. 85. He just turned 85. And Sydney's got a question. What is the most stressful movie scene you have ever seen?
Well, the first time I ever hyperventilated watching a film was seeing Boogie Nights during that fucking robbery scene.
Oh, with the firecrackers and shit.
Not well that one, but you get that double banger in that movie because you get the Don Cheadle scene.
The Don Cheadle scene. Gotcha.
And that's just like, what the fuck, And my heart is just like, and stuff. So yeah, I'd say that one for sure. Because you get that double banger in that one. It's just like, what the fuck,
Yeah. I'd say the most stressful scene that I have ever seen the first time I saw it was the bridge scene in Sorcerer. That I was just like, oh my God. I mean, it just, and then they repeat it.
Right.
And it's like, holy shit. Yeah, that I almost shit myself the first time I saw that movie. That's the one that got me.
I'm definitely due for a rewatch on that. So, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Criterion's coming out with a new version of that on 4K and a new Blu-ray, which I am really looking forward to upgrading my Blu-ray that I have now, because that's my favorite Friedkin movie. I love Sorcerer. It is so good. But thank you, Sydney. Okay, gonna play another game here.
All right.
Overrated, underrated. I want a movie that just about everybody thinks is top notch that you just think is a piece of shit.
That's easy for me, and that's
and why?
Oh. Midsommar. Fuck. I hate it because I think the characters are really stupid. They could have gotten out of a lot of that situation. Sean and I have argued about this though, because he said, well, they were on on hallucinogens or this and that. And I'm like, I don't believe that shit for a second, and I just don't think they could be that stupid, because I mean, like the one dude that they want to impregnate that girl. The guy is dumb as fuck. And it's like, why would you want this guy to, why would you want to breed with this guy? This guy's an idiot, and then they kill him off anyway. And it's just like, I don't know. And I mean, and I love the whole scope of the film, the way it looks, the way it's filmed and everything. But just, I'm like, man, I just don't understand why this is so fucked up. It's just like, it just doesn't, it was just all the characters stuff. They just seem so stupid. And I just can't believe people would be that fucking dumb to fall for something like that,
Yeah, my problem with that movie is it was just long.
Well, too.
It was just so fucking long, and those characters were basically annoying as fuck. So I didn't want to spend that amount of time with them. I was just like, kill them. Just kill them. Let's get to it, But no, that's totally fine. Okay, now let's flip that. Underrated. Something that most people just say, that movie sucks, and you're like, no, you just don't understand. This movie's great.
I'm gonna well, with that one, I mean, I'm gonna go the opposite route and say Hereditary, because there's a lot of people that don't like Hereditary, and I fucking love it, because I think, to me, it's a more modernized version of Rosemary's Baby without a baby, but it's like they want the kid, and it's all stupid Satanist fucks, and stuff like that, But I thought the movie was great, and Toni Collette is fucking amazing in that movie.
Yes, absolutely.
So I mean, yeah, I wasn't gonna throw you like a curveball of a movie I really thought sucked and say, oh yeah, this is totally underrated. But yeah, I think yeah, Hereditary is totally underrated, and you know, and I just don't like Midsummer. I mean, I got through Boys Afraid, but I hate that last 20 minutes of that. That is like fucking sitting in maple syrup or some shit. Oh my god. Because it was the first time I'd ever been in a theater where, like, this friend of mine wanted to go see it, and I said, "I don't think you're gonna like this, dude, at all." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, it looks great, blah blah blah." But sometimes I think this one friend of mine is on half a fucking brain cell, just because of the things he picks, and it's just, you know, and there's other issues, but like, so I'm sitting there and I'm just like this. I'm starting to get agitated, and I'm just, fuck, you know. And he's like, "What's wrong?" And I go, "Man, I got to get the fuck out of here. This thing better end because this 20 minutes seems like another 3 hours that's been tacked onto the movie."
Right.
You know, and that's why I was trying to like hold myself still. So you know, because I would have just gotten up and left, you know. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to see the rest of this. This is boring as shit, you know.
Yeah, I heard really bad things about that. And then I heard what you were saying when that movie came up, you know, earlier in conversations on this show, you know, talking about how the last 20 minutes added another 3 hours. And that kind of
Yeah,
sealed the deal for me. I was like, no, I
it's
ain't going to watch that piece of
it's
shit.
so fucking like, oh man, painful.
Dirk here says, the irreversible scene, if you know, you know. Yeah, that movie that's a tough watch, man. That is definitely a tough watch. And Barry, we already covered this earlier before you got here. He's a horror guy, just like me. That's his favorite genre. Okay, Yam says, are there any films that you never used to like, but now you do? Also, are there any films that you used to love, but now you can't stand? That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah, I mean, like, um, oh shit. I can't even think of the fucking name of the. Oh, Boys Don't Cry. First time I saw it, I thought, as far as it being, you know, a film minus the subject matter, I thought it was really good. And then I tried to watch it again about a year later, and I'm just like, I can't do this. You know, fuck this movie. You know, um, and you know, that's when I've just never gone back to, even though I you know, liked it a lot first time I saw it, but I'm like, no, no. And then something that I didn't used to like and I like now. Uh, hmm. There's been a lot like that over the years, and I'm trying to pin one down in my head. Um, fuck, I can't really think of one that, I mean, and there are a few, but just trying.
See, you broke them, Yam.
Yeah, fuck. You know, I'm really trying to think here of. Well, one, I guess it was the American remake of Pulse. I didn't like Pulse, the Japanese version, that much, but I remember seeing the American version and I was like, oh, fuck this. But then upon, you know, another viewing, I like it a lot better than the first time I watched it. So I guess, yeah, I guess that's one at least. You know, I mean, it's nothing that, you know, I'd repeatedly watch, but if I, you know, but I wouldn't have a problem if I did a rewatch or being like, oh fuck, you know, you know, yeah, yeah. There's one. Well, there's one that I'll get lambasted probably if I say, but you know, I will. I don't want to get murdered on the street corner, so I won't man.
Better not be Dirty Dancing, you prick.
Oh, man. You know, it's funny though, like I said, I still want to see that because I've never seen it, but only because of that Netflix thing and how they talked about all the arguments and all the bullshit they went through to even get that movie made. And I'm like, damn, you know, this almost sounds like it might be a semi good movie.
Opinions vary. Yeah.
But I wouldn't torture you with like, hey, Jim.
Hey, like what you like, man. Like what
Yeah.
you like. As far as my answer to that, yeah, when I was a kid, I loved Damnation Alley, and then I watched it years later, and not so much now. And when I was a kid, believe it or not, I thought The Godfather was boring, and now I love it. I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time. So let's see
I
here.
saw that, you know, when I was a kid in the theater, and I don't know. I think it was too long for me back then, so I didn't pay attention to like a lot of it. And so, I like it. I think it's, great, but like at the time, I remember it didn't phase me. I'm like, okay, a
Right.
bunch of guys are getting killed, and there's a horse head in this guy's bed. Cool, kind of.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was back then. It was just like, okay, this movie's too long. I don't need to watch this wedding scene for an hour, But again, as a kid, I didn't understand the context and everything, and now it's great. Let's see here. Sean says they were on multiple drugs on top of drugs, and they were completely mind fucked and couldn't make any rational decisions once everything kicked in from them in Midsummer. He's going to stand on that hill until the end of time. Sydney says movies I hate: Rosemary's Baby, all of the Scream movies, all of the Transformer movies, the rom-com movies, Nope, Midsummer, etc. I like Rosemary's Baby, and I like the original Scream.
Yeah, I like Rosemary's Baby. The first time I saw that, I didn't really like it that much because I didn't quite grasp it. It just kind of, because when you look at it, it's really talky, especially with the Ruth Gordon stuff.
Yeah.
But then you have to realize how much like they're manipulating her, so it's always this kind of way to like catch her off guard, I suppose, and then make her think that she's going nuts and all. So yeah, after a couple of repeated viewings, I was like, okay, I see how this is, how it's going, and things like that. At least that's from my perspective of it, and I enjoy it. Although Ruth Gordon does scare the hell out of me in that film because I love Maude. Maude is
I know,
the best fucking character, but seeing her like the old lady and fucking Rosemary's Baby, oh Jesus Christ. That would be one I'd have a gun hidden somewhere. Like that's it,
Yeah, I loved her in those Clint Eastwood talking or the orangutan movies too. His mom.
Oh yeah,
she was great in those movies, man.
And then Where's Papa, which is kind of to me, I think it's seeing it now, it's actually, I think it's kind of a bad film, but it's just so goofy that
it's a weird movie, man.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that movie in years, but I remember at the time thinking, man, this is a weird fucking movie. Sean says, dump a beer on every Scream movie. There you go. And Dirk says, Bo is like 3 films in one, and Astor made the film he wanted without any interference from producers. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but again, just about everything I have heard about that movie is that it's boring at best and it's a train wreck at worst. So Barry says, yep, Scream is so overrated. Don't get the appeal at all, although I've only seen the first 3. I've only seen the first 4, Barry. And I own the first 3, but I only watched the first one, if that makes any kind of sense at all.
I actually love the second, one.
The second one's not bad. I like the way the second one starts. The beginning of it's great. The whole stab thing. I thought that was pretty cool how they did that.
I just love it because my favorite scene is when the killer calls Jamie Kennedy on his cell phone, and then he just tells him, "Fuck you." I'm just like, bravo, you know.
Let's see here. Yam says, I could make a novel for underrated films, but to name a few that first come to mind, Savage Streets, Flight Plan,
Yeah.
Phoenix with Ray Liotta, and Control with Ray Liotta. Yeah, I know you're a big Ray Liotta fan. Yeah, I know that. Shit, I like Cocaine Bear. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
that movie's great.
fucking great. I mean, that I couldn't believe how fucking gory that fucking movie was. I was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. You know.
And Pope Theus Pap Smear is here.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I love that name,
I
by
love
the
the
way.
Pope.
That is great. Out on the road today, I saw a man's best friend is penicillin sticker at a Cadillac. The voice inside my head says, "He has the clap. Yes, he has the clap."
See, and the fact that he can totally destroy Don Henley, you know, that is right there is worth
That
the
was
price
great.
of admission.
See if I can get some fireworks for that one. Nope. Damn it. Oh, there we go. All right. Comment of the day, buddy. Thank you. That was awesome. Yam says Hillary Swank's second best performance for me in Boys Don't Cry with my first Ben $1 Million Baby. Yeah, she's great in $1 Million Baby for sure. Zombie. Okay. Don't know what that is, but
Probably one of
Sydney
my thoughts, but he knows.
Sydney Eubanks, Training Day, your favorite scenes from the movie.
See, that was another one that points. I was like, God damn, you know, this is freaking me out, you know. It's been so long, but I mean, pretty much probably what everybody said in the chat, I'll just go with because I'm, you know, that's a terrifying movie in some aspects, you know, and stuff. And just to see Denzel just all like, you know,
King Kong ain't got shit on me. Yeah, our mutual friend a couple of weeks back, when my buddy Daniel from Frank's Collecting Castle was on here, she threw a question: best teacher in movies. And the first thing that he thought about for some reason was Denzel. He goes, "Well, the first thing that came into my head was Denzel from Training Day, but he's a horrible teacher," and I just lost it because in a million years I never would have thought of that answer.
That's true. Yeah,
that's brilliant. You know? I thought the screen had frozen. I hope not. Barry says, Phoenix, that's a film I haven't thought of in years. Remember it being good. Ray is a gambler, as I remember. Yeah, see, I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that either.
Sydney, oh, this is good one. Choose one: A History of Violence or Eastern Promises.
Yeah, those are both good, but I'll go with Eastern Promises, I think.
I'll go with A History of Violence.
Okay.
I love them both. I mean, I'm a big Cronenberg guy, and
see those two. It you know, to me, I can't really choose one, but you know,
yeah, I'll go with The History of Violence just because of William Hurt. He is so fucking awesome. I mean, he's only in that movie for 10 minutes and he got an Oscar nomination for it. You know, he is just so good in that movie. You cost me a lot, Joey. You cost me a fucking lot. Yeah, I actually love Dirty Dancing and Ghost. Hey, again, I don't pick on people who love Dirty Dancing, okay? I just pick on people that say that Dirty Dancing is like one of the greatest movies ever. Because then I always come back with, are you out of your fucking mind? But like what you like. I'm a big believer in that. So, you know, certain things you shouldn't like, but, you know, we won't go into that. King Kong ain't got shit on me. Cholo Bathtub. Yeah. That whole damn movie is just great.
Yeah.
Sean says, I hate The Godfather because my mom's stupid ex-boyfriend accused me of stealing his VHS tape when I never even heard of the movie at the time. But yes, now I love those movies.
See, that's rotten. You know, there's a few, you know, men that my mom dated that I couldn't stand, but I never got accused of stealing anything. Thank goodness. But yeah, you know.
Yeah, see, I was blessed in that department. My parents were together until my dad died. You know, so I never had to go through any of that bullshit. But a lot of my friends did, though, unfortunately. Okay, Yam says, interesting fact in Rosemary's Baby. Mia Farrow wanted to play the role, but Frank Sinatra didn't because said it's a bad look for him. He threatened her with divorce, went on set and gave the papers. Yeah, that's a true story.
Yeah.
I remember
Well,
that.
it's also because when they cut her hair, and he flipped the fuck out
Yeah.
on that too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, Frank Sinatra was a piece of shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I love the fact that his last words were, "I'm losing it," you know. Yeah.
Yam says, I actually got in touch with Umbrella a few months back asking if they would do a Savage Streets with the CD soundtrack. They got back and said it would be good for their label.
That's cool.
That would be cool. And Dirk picks Eastern Promises. Yam says, History of Violence and Eastern Promises would actually make a good double bill. Yeah. And Greg is here.
Yeah.
What the hell is up with my... There's Greg. Thank you, Greg, for being here. I appreciate it, as always, my friend. And my tablet is really acting up here, so I'm sorry if I'm having problems with the comments. Sean says, I'm actually going to watch Dirty Dancing tonight for the first time. My cherry will pop. Yeah, you'll never be the same after that. And again, your wife wants you to watch that with her, Sean, so I totally get it, buddy. I'm not going to give you any shit about that. Barry says, Lethal Weapon or Die Hard? Pick one.
Oh, I'm going to go with Lethal Weapon only for the fact that I've watched Die Hard too many times. And I'm not to the point to where I dislike it, but it's one of those where it's like, I you know, how you burn yourself out on a song or something. And it's kind of like I've burnt myself out on Die Hard. So I'm going to definitely go with Lethal Weapon, you know.
Yeah, I'll go with Lethal Weapon because it's got crazy Gary Busey in it. So,
yeah,
you know, got to go with it. But both of them are great. You know, I mean, come on. Also, Frank Sinatra can't sing. All he does is talk. I don't know about that, but he picks Lethal Weapon. Sydney picks Die Hard. Barry picks Lethal Weapon as well. Dirk says, Church of Satan founder Anton, it should be Anton LaVey instead of Lacey, but was the devil in Rosemary's Baby, Polanski's second part of his Apartment trilogy. Yeah, that guy was full of shit.
Yeah, I was going to say the same exact thing. The funny thing is, you know, and this is true because I don't tell no fucking lies. When I lived in San Francisco, I managed a CD store. My boss of the store had gone to Europe, and he saw how you could basically, you know, customers could listen to anything they wanted. So he brought that idea, you know, which probably, you know, other stores did it around the country, I would assume, but he created the store to where, you know, we would let anybody listen to whatever they wanted. You know, we kept all the discs safe so they wouldn't get fucked up and everything was fine. And anyway, LaVey lived like around the corner and several blocks away. And his ex, I guess, widow, Blanche, she would order stuff from us all the time. And the weirdest thing was, like, she came in and she ordered something, you know, from me and whatever. I didn't pay her any mind, just, you know, it's a customer ordering something. So my boss goes, she's a Satanist. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, she is. He goes, you know, Anton LaVey. I said, well, yeah, who fucking doesn't know Anton LaVey? You know, he's like, they live down the street. I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay, whatever. So I call, you know, so when I got the orders in and had to call to have them picked up, it's his voice on the answering machine, you know, and he's, you know, just kind of, you know, we're not able to come to the phone right now, trying to, you know, whatever, I don't know, just, you know, but it's like, okay, so I left the, you know, the message for her, you know, she comes in, and it was weird because she kind of looked hot the first time I saw her, and then that second time when she came in, she's not, you know, and I was like, and then she's wearing, you know, a fucking, you know, pendant with the fucking star on it and shit, you know, and I'm just like, whatever, you know. And then I actually saw them walking down the street together. You know, one time he was wearing like a knit cap and he had sunglasses on, but he, you know, you knew, if you knew him, you knew who it was, you know, and stuff. So it was just weird, but yeah.
Strolling the gardens with his goblet of goat blood. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I wasn't a devil worshiper or anything, but I had like a little obsession with reading into that guy and shit. And at the time I was like, oh, you know, and then as I got older and got more information about him, it's like, yeah, he's full of shit.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah.
Let's see here. Greg says both are great films, hard to choose from. I like Die Hard, even 2, 3, and 4, but I don't like Bruce Willis. It's a shame what's happening to Bruce Willis, regardless if you like him or not. It really is. Sean says Die Hard for him. And my boy William is here. My boy Blue. Lethal Weapon for him. That's my son William. Thanks for being here, buddy. Barry, Dirty Harry franchise or Death Wish franchise? That's not even close, Barry. Come on. Oh. No, Jimmy, you're online.
It is Jimmy, you know. I mean, and he knew, you know, and he knew I was doing this today. I mean, you know, and you know, usually he calls me, you know, in the morning. He didn't even call me, you know, and so now he's calling at 2:00, and so it's like, fuck off.
Put him on speakerphone.
Nah, you know, I was going to turn my phone off. Actually, I should have. I just, you know, but.
Oh, that's too funny. But no, Barry, my answer would definitely be the Dirty Harry franchise every day.
Yeah, mine too.
Without a doubt. Because I like the first 2 Death Wish movies. I don't like the third. Well, the third one is good for like if you're just gonna have a good time with a bad movie. The fourth one's a piece of shit, and I never saw the 5th one. So, and the Dirty Harry franchise, I own all 5, and the Deadpool is the weakest, but I would rather watch that over any of the Death Wish movies except for maybe the first one. So, Sydney says, choose one actor, Tommy Lee Jones or Al Pacino.
I'm going to go with Tommy Lee Jones because he's a Texas.
That makes sense. I will go with Al Pacino. And thought you froze up there for a second, so I wasn't sure if you were talking or not.
No, I was just saying I'll go with Tommy Lee Jones because he's a Texas boy, but Pacino is not in everything, but a lot of times he's too over the top for me and stuff. And so I'm like, nah, you know.
Yeah. You got screaming Al Pacino and you got restrained Al Pacino. Right. And, you know, I totally agree with you on that. Yam, are there any actors you don't like which may surprise? For me, my second favorite film of all time is Cape Fear 1991, but I can't stand Robert De Niro, even though I like some of his films, but not him. Wow, I love De Niro. I think he's a great actor.
Yeah, I do too. But I mean, some films that any actors like that I don't like. Oh boy. There's not, I'd say it's like, I think I don't like some actors' choices more than I dislike them. Although, I mean, the only one person I can think of, but you know, he's a comedic actor, is like Kevin Hart. I don't see his, you know,
appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, there's been actors that I wouldn't necessarily say that I didn't like, but have surprised me. Okay.
Right.
Like, for instance, when I saw Wolf of Wall Street, Jonah Hill surprised me how good he is in that movie.
Yeah.
Okay. And I like Jonah Hill. I don't love him, but I like him. But I never saw him play that type of part before. I mean, even Moneyball, he's good in Moneyball, but he's terrific in Wolf of Wall Street.
I mean, I've never disliked, you know, Jonah Hill though. You know, I mean, I always thought he was, you know, when I saw him in friggin' Superbad. I mean, I just thought, you know, he was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, there was that one he did, The Babysitter or whatever.
The Sitter.
Yeah. The Sitter, yeah. The Sitter, you know, the shitter, whatever.
The shitter.
You know, like, you know, but he's, you know, all right.
And actually, another one that really surprised me, and I bring this movie up a lot, even though I've never recommended this movie to anybody. Marlon Wayans in Requiem for a Dream is phenomenal.
All
4 leads are phenomenal. but that
That
is a rough movie to watch, man.
that's a movie that, yeah, I'll never watch that again. I did a binge of like drug related movies, and that was a mistake. I should have kind of like, watched one and then a few other things in between. But I watched that and Permanent Midnight and Train
Yeah.
Spotting, and just, oh man, and it made such a, ugh, God.
Yeah, that's not a feel good day, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I just, I can't see, how anybody, unfortunately, I mean, it happens, but can live that, those kind of lifestyles. I just think, but I'm not one of these people that's going to be like, well, if you didn't do this sort of shit, and you'd made something of yourself. I mean, people make of themselves whatever, I mean, it's like, that's why I guess guns are illegal, because most times most people think that, well, the drugs will kill them off, or whatever. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to
Yeah.
get into any kind of
No,
weird
it's all good
thing,
But yeah, that, like I said, that movie is like definitely not a feel good movie, man.
No.
I mean, especially to let earlier we had that question about what's the most tense scene you've ever seen. The last 5 minutes of that movie,
yeah,
is among the most intense shit I've ever seen in my life, man. I mean, it's like we were talking about it on one of the shows with Sean and Kenny, and Kenny's never seen that movie. And I kept telling him flat out, dude, unless you want to, or no, Sean had never seen it. Kenny had. And I told Sean flat out, I was like, dude, unless you want to watch a train wreck and you want to tear your eyes out at the end of the movie, that's about the experience I had with it. I mean, it's an incredibly effective movie. It really is, man. But it's definitely not something that I go back to often. Okay,
I mean,
let me get off there. Let's get back to the fun stuff here.
When we were in school and they'd show us all those like, drug films, and then they were so ridiculous. I mean, you could just show that to your fucking class,
Yeah, well, here's a peek behind the curtain, okay? And I'm not embarrassed about it now, because now it's shit, damn near 30 years ago. Everybody's friend Jim here is he was a convicted felon until it got expunged from my record a couple of years ago, because I got arrested for a weed charge years ago. Back in the day, I got nailed holding a quarter pound of weed, and because I was almost 30 at the time and didn't even have a traffic record on my record at the time, I got probation, but I kept smoking weed while I was on probation. Flunked about 10 drug tests, and then got thrown into work release jail for 9 months. Okay. Oh, but part of that deal with the 9 months was I had to go to AA meetings and drug counseling with all these other people that were in there with, like, I'm in there with a bunch of crackheads or chronic alcoholics that got into a DUI or killed somebody with an accident, that sort of shit. So everybody's telling their stories, I was addicted to pills and I ruined my life, and I was a cocaine addict and I stole my mother's pension, and I got drunk and I hit a bus full of nuns, and I get up there and, hi, my name's Jim. I smoke pot. That was it. Oh, you're hiding. That's a gateway drug. Not for me, it wasn't. I mean, it's like for 9 months, I had to convince these people that I wasn't like some severe drug addict in denial. And it was like, oh my God, it was like, I felt like the world's biggest hypocrite during those meetings, because I wasn't getting anything out of them. I was just like, this is a fucking waste of time,
I want to know more about the guy who hit the bus full of nuns,
That was an exaggeration.
No, I know.
But part of these meetings was they would make us watch these anti-drug films. That was one of them, okay? Mm-hmm. But the funniest one they made us watch was the Basketball Diaries with DiCaprio.
Right.
Because, and again, I'm not saying this is a racist thing, okay? But there was like 30 people in my group, okay? And I would say 20 of them were people of color, okay? Either black or Hispanic. And all they kept saying during that entire fucking movie was, there's no way DiCaprio could ball. Look how short that motherfucker is. He can't dunk. And I mean, all this other shit. That's the only message they got from that movie.
Oh, my God.
There's no way in hell that DiCaprio could ball. And I mean, I'm just sitting there laughing my ass off, just like, oh my God, this is brilliant. Okay, let's get back on my, I'm way off topic here. I'm sorry. Okay, get back to a couple of comments here, and then we're going to change gears here.
All right.
Sydney says, underrated movie for him is Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, that's a fucking great movie.
That's a great movie. And that's basically Death Wish. It's more or less like a sequel to Death Wish, the novel, I think. Barry agrees. Bacon is a great actor. Yeah, Kevin Bacon. You know, if you would have told me years ago that the guy who was getting spanked in Animal House and getting an arrow through the throat by Jason in Friday, or Jason's mom rather, in Friday the 13th would have a career this long, I never would have believed it. And yeah, Kevin Bacon's great. Yam says, I never used to be stuck on Leonardo DiCaprio, but as he's getting older, he's a solid actor. Blew me away in The Revenant, a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a great fucking movie too.
I agree with every word that you just said, Yam, because I was the same exact way. I thought he was a pretty boy. And as he's gotten older, especially when he started working with Scorsese and some of those directors, yeah, he's become a very, very great actor, in my opinion. Dirk says Requiem should be required to see in high school. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I just, and I said that same thing, so,
I'd put American History X in that that requirement as well, because that's another one that is just hard to watch, but it's incredibly well effective movie. I mean, curb stomp scene is unbelievable. Death Wish and Death Sentence would make a great Boston double bill. Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure Death Sentence is based on the actual source material that Death Wish was. It's like more faithful to the book or something. Okay, Sydney does these ones every once in a while. Tom Cruise or Tom Hanks? Better actors, better movies?
I'll go with Cruise just because, I mean, there's a lot of his stuff I haven't seen, just because of, like I told you, I never saw Top Gun because, the jingoism that was going on in our country at the time. And I was a young anarchist at the time. So I was like, nope, but I mean, he fucking did Losing It. I can't see fucking Tom Hanks doing a movie like that, and stuff. I mean, I think Tom Hanks is a great actor, but now what he comes out with is just fluff. I'm like, he hasn't done anything for me in like a long time, except maybe the Mr. Rogers movie. He was great in that and played that to a T. But there's not a lot of substance to him anymore, And I mean, kind of Cruise too, just doing all these fucking Mission Impossible sequels,
Well, apparently the one that's coming out this summer is the last one, but if it makes a shit ton of money, they'll probably make another one.
Right? But I mean, I think they're both good for what they've done, but they're not anywhere near my top tier favorite actors or anything,
Yeah, Tom, see, now again, just like what I said about Kevin Bacon. If you would have told me way back in the day that the guy from Bosom Buddies would win 2 Oscars and the guy from Taps, because that was the first thing I ever saw him in, okay, he was third banana behind Sean Penn and Timothy Hutton Timothy Hutton, but he would arguably become the biggest movie star of his generation. I never would have believed you, but I think Hanks is a better actor, but I think I prefer Tom Cruise for what you said. His movies tend to entertain me more than Tom Hanks lately, for sure. I mean, I think early in their runs, I would go with Tom Hanks, but overall, I think I would go with Tom Cruise. So, great question, Sydney. Barry says Cruise all day long, not a fan of Hanks. Oh, and I'm mistaken. Sean has seen Requiem for a Dream because he puts ass to ass. And yeah, that, again, Jennifer Connelly is one of those beautiful, talented women that I've been in love with forever, since Labyrinth even, back in the day. And seeing her in that scene was like heartbreaking to me. It was just, oh God. Yam says, I've never smoked in my life or have a sip of booze in my life. I'm a good boy. Hey, clean living. Good for you, man. I'm not.
Yeah, see, the thing with me is that, being born in the mid 60s, and then when all the hippie things, there was all that anti-drug stuff that was being on TV, and it must have really got me, uh, when I was younger, and stuff. And it wasn't any kind of, like hardcore, propaganda back then, as far as I remember, but it's just always my thing, I was like, yeah, I don't need it. Not to say that, in later years, I haven't tried anything or anything like that. Because I actually, when I turned 20, a friend of mine that I had, his mother actually said, she said, gave me the best fucking piece of advice I think anybody, can have is, she said, well, now you're at that age where you may want to try some things which may not be good for you and stuff. And, go ahead and do them, but just know well enough to not, to not do them again, try them once, leave it. And I thought that was the perfect fucking advice that I ever received.
Yeah. Yeah. See, my sister got me high when I was way too young. And I reminded her of that fact years later when she was scolding me about still smoking pot in my 30s in front of her children at the time. And then I had to put her in her place.
Right.
But anyway, we won't go into that. But my thing is I was basically a pothead because I was the youngest of 5. And the brother closest to me was a big time stoner. So, I used to get free weed all the time. But that was as far as it went, because in the early to mid 80s, cocaine was everywhere. And I went to high school parties where people would be doing lines and shit. And I never touched it because John Belushi OD'd in 82 when I was 15. And right. You would never find a bigger John Belushi fan at that time than me. And that devastated me. And I swore that day that I would never flirt around with anything harder than weed. And yeah, I did a little bit of experimenting with some hallucinogenics when I was in college. But other than that, it's like, pot's my thing. I'm not even a big drinker. It's like, I would rather associate with a couple of potheads than a couple of drunks for the most part. Because most of the potheads, all they want to do is eat. Whereas drunks, all they want to do is fight. And I'm not in the mood for that shit. So,
right.
But I don't pick on anybody's choice for whatever they do. Whatever gets you through the day, more power to you, as long as you're not hurting anybody. So, all right, enough of my soapbox here. Let's see here. I got to watch, or if I watch Requiem, I got to watch a feel-good comfort film right after, usually like The Shining. The Mist is more comforting than fucking Requiem for a Dream, pal. I mean, I've done plenty of drugs back in the day, Jim. Yeah, I mean, it's all part of life, Some people, can handle it. Some people can't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never down on, people that do whatever they want to do. But then I've got a lot of people, I had a lot of people in my life that unfortunately, it killed them. And
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I've never been, let me see, I've never been anti-person who uses drugs. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm a big believer, as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting anyone else, whatever you need to do to get through the day, more power to you. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's one of the reasons why I never dabbled with anything harder than weed, because I'm sorry, I don't care what you read on the internet. I have never met anybody in my life that OD'd from smoking pot. It's never happened, I mean, I've never seen it. So, and nobody ODs on fucking, what's that drug that's everywhere now that all they keep on talking about? Shit.
Fentanyl or whatever.
Fentanyl. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There ain't nobody sprinkling fentanyl in my fucking weed. You know what I mean? So,
right.
All right, let's get off this shit. Let's get back to the fun stuff here. Okay. Oh yeah, this one always comes up. It's too bad Carlos ain't here, because he'd be going nuts right now. Cruz is doing a Gauntlet remake. Nobody, and I mean nobody, should remake any Clint film.
Yeah, that's weird.
Sydney, Jim, The Falcon and the Snowman, 1985. Sean Penn, Timothy Hutton. Your thoughts?
Great fucking film.
It's a great fucking film. John Schlesinger directed that movie. That's a great movie. Love it, love it, love it. And that one's kind of hard to find. All right, I know the answer to this one for you. Pulp Fiction or Jackie Brown? Choose one.
Jackie Brown.
I knew you were going to choose Jackie Brown. Yeah, we kind of covered that earlier. Pulp Fiction for me, for sure. But I love
I love that one too. I mean, I love all his films. But,
yeah, I do too. I there's not a single Tarantino film that I won't watch. I love them all.
Pam Grier is a goddess, though. I'm not worthy.
Oh yeah, no, Pam Grier is, yeah, she's phenomenal. Pulp Fiction all day long for Barry. Dirk says, I just heard Bill Murray on Joe Rogan say that it was the first time Belushi tried speedball. Yeah, it was when he OD'd. It was. Do you think there will be a time where CGI ends and practical effects come back? I love practical effects. Can't stand CGI. Also, practical effects are physically real. CGI is invisible fake.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Why
think, not both?
Yeah, I agree. I think the best CGI is when it's augmenting something that is practical. Excuse me. But at this point, CG, believe it or not, is actually cheaper than physical effects for the most part. And at the end of the day, Hollywood is a profit-driven business. I mean, so I would love it if it came back to 100% practical. You know, I'm right there with you. I experimented with psychedelics a lot back in the day. I don't regret it. Yeah. The only thing I regret about the psychedelic experience for me was doing acid and going to see Pink Floyd The Wall was a big mistake. That was a big fucking mistake. I've actually heard street weed is being laced with fentanyl and say, not if you go to a guy like I do. I've been going to the same guy for 20 years who grows his own shit. He ain't putting fentanyl on his weed. So Arlo's made me laugh ages ago on Dan's stream when he gets told that every time somebody brings up that Gauntlet remake, Carlos just loses it, man. He just fucking loses it. Pulp Fiction all day, but Reservoir Dogs is his best in my opinion. Pulp Fiction's his best in my opinion, but I love every one of his movies. We're gonna get back to okay. Falcon and the Snowman, great flick. Good Boeing song. This Is Not America. Yeah, absolutely. That one played at the theater when I was working there, and I always used to jam. Yeah, I would actually turn the sound up at the end during the credits for that fucking Bowie song.
I saw that in the theater too when it came out. So yeah, I thought it was a really good movie.
A lot of these CGI films that are bad because of the CGI, if they were practical, they probably would be good films. Yeah, I mean, there is some good CG. The problem is that it's everything is over relying upon CG now, you know, and that's where it becomes a problem. Okay, we are now an hour and 20 in, so we're going to split some things up because my good friend here, Texas, in addition to being a movie guy, he's also a music guy, but he is also a Renaissance man of sorts who is always willing to impart some wisdom on the masses. So I have asked him to come up with a small educational portion of our program, because on one of his random live streams a couple of months ago, or maybe about a month ago, he did some random translations of phrases from Spanish into English. And it was one of the funniest goddamn things I've ever seen in my life. His friend Juno, I literally thought was going to like shit his pants live on air. It was glorious. So not too much pressure, but hopefully you've got something good for us today. So the floor is yours, sir. Let's hear Spanish lessons from Texas.
Yeah. So this one actually has a story to it. There's this channel which I was watching probably about in 2018, not on YouTube, but it was like some deal where people would do, casts on and things like that. Well, I haven't watched it in so long, I don't even remember the name of the fucking thing, but there was this lady named Jenny, and she was an older lady and she had cancer. I hope she's still alive. I don't know, but because I haven't seen her streamed in a long time, but I haven't been over there in a while. But so I was on there one night, in her chat, talking to her and stuff. And some asshole comes in and starts calling her an old bitch and, I hope you die and all this kind of shit. So I decided, well, because she's like, she tell people, I don't want you fighting with anybody if they come in or this. So I thought, well, the best way to do this is I'm gonna say this fucking thing in Spanish, so nobody will, no one will know what the fuck I'm talking about, unless they spoke Spanish. And and then she DM'd me and she was like, "What did you say?" And I told her, but this is the what I said in Spanish. Quizás deberías de folearte y tu hermana y de chupar pollos de caballo, which basically says maybe you should stop fucking your sister and sucking horse dicks.
Nice. How do you follow that?
I know. Well, this one won't be as good, but especially since the person's not here. But anyway, I wanted you to regain your composure. So the next one is Kenny esconde todos sus criaturas or vistas de en un cajón secreto. Kenny hides all his Big Yam magazines in a secret drawer.
Oh, I'm going to clip that and I'm going to send that to him.
And, my translation, I wrote all this shit down, but my handwriting is so bad. I might have kind of, might not sound exactly like it should, but,
That's awesome. Thank you. And that has been the educational segment of our show. Spanish lessons with Texas and there's your fireworks. Outstanding, sir. You did not disappoint me.
Okay, good.
Okay. Real quickly, let's get back to the comments here. Sean says, got to get going here, but good job with the stream, guys. Enjoy the rest of the weekend and be safe, everyone. Thank you so much, Sean. And I'm going to be reaching out to you soon, buddy, because I want to get you on this crazy show at some point as well. So thank you so much, buddy. Okay, Sydney, Collateral with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. Thoughts?
Yeah, I love it. It's a great movie.
I think that's
probably
actually
the last one of his I really liked. Sorry.
Yeah. That's one of Tom Cruise's best roles, in my opinion. He's great in that movie. I don't mind a little CG on top of practical effects too. And yeah, exactly. I'm right there with you, Dirk says, pretty underrated one, Sydney. Doesn't get talked about as much as it should. Damn good film. Absolutely. And Barry says, so that's what the Spanish fellow was saying to me all those years ago. Stop sucking horse dicks.
No, but I'm not going to have some, poor lady that's got cancer being, fucking berated by some fucking keyboard warrior,
Yeah. Some asshole who's still in his mom's basement and never even smelled pussy since the day he was born.
Right.
Okay, we're going to switch gears here, everybody. Because as I said earlier, Texas, in addition to being an avid movie fan, he is a huge music guy as well. Okay. So we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little music here. And again, these aren't necessarily favorites or anything like that. Okay.
All right.
But what three bands got you at when you first were young? Okay. What were your three favorite bands that got you into music?
Probably first and foremost was the Monkees. I actually saw the original band in concert when I was 2, which was my first concert. I don't remember much of it.
I was going to say, tell me more.
Well, I know. I mean, I don't remember much of it. I do remember, though, several things, like all these girls just fucking going nuts and screaming.
Yeah.
And I remember like after the girls would scream, I'd start screaming, and stuff. And my mom, she would always reiterate that, you were so cute, you would scream like that, and all. But I remember that they had these like oval screens behind them that would show just random pictures. I remember like there was a dog and like a sunset, I think, and some different things. And and they were dressed like they were in the show as well. And then the weird thing was around, I think it was around 1986, there was a live record that, Rhino released. And so I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Turn it over. And the picture was a picture of them playing, and there were the oval screens behind them. So I knew I didn't, just imagine that and stuff. So I'd say they were kind of like the first kind of, band that I had records of and listened to. And then, I pretty much was a radio person till I was about 10. And then Kiss was like the next band that I got into, because I had a cousin who had Kiss Alive, and he had brought it to my great aunt and uncle's summer house one summer, and we were listening to that, and that kind of was the catalyst of getting me into, stuff. And then I was listening, my mom was dating a guy that liked Zeppelin, and he had a lot of, odd records, but he and I liked the same, at the time, a lot of the same stuff. And then when I was, 13, 14 was kind of the changeover for me, because like I was telling you about how, I got into punk and stuff, and I remember seeing Blondie on the Midnight Special, and that was the time when they were they hadn't hit big yet, but that was, but they were playing stuff from Parallel Lines, and that was that album that broke them out and everything. But it was like I kind of told you, at the time, people didn't know exactly what punk rock was here, because they were always lumping it in. Like I told you about that Whitman's punk sampler that had Tom Petty and Cheap Trick on it and stuff. And it was
Tom Petty on a punk album.
So weird. So I mean, my whole thought was, because I had read about, all these different bands, English and American and whatnot. So as far as I knew about Blondie, all I knew was like, well, they're a punk band. And so I thought, well, I'm going to watch this and see what this is about, and stuff. And I was like, well, this isn't, offending me, or this isn't, whatever, But then soon enough, I met this friend of mine, and because I was just starting high school, and he actually had some, Ramones records and stuff and things like that. So I was like, oh, I know of them. I've never heard their stuff. And then once I heard them, and then, about the Sex Pistols record, and was just like, holy fuck, I'd never heard anything so venomous. And then I bought, like I was buying all these, different, records I had read about, or whatever, or, it was vice versa. He'd buy something, I'd go over to his house and listen to it, and back and forth. And then, so I'm just like, I thought, man, my whole life changed. I mean, because of the Clash, I got into like a lot of reggae, and I still to this day love reggae and dub, and I mean, none of that stuff has left me. Some people, they just kind of go, yeah, and then, well, I listened to that when I was younger, and I don't care for it now. But that's not ever happened with me. So that's pretty much
It's funny that you mentioned Kiss with Kiss Alive, and that your cousin brought that to you, because that was my introduction to Kiss as well, was through my cousin.
Honestly, it's the best thing they ever fucking did.
Absolutely. And yeah, Kiss Alive is still, to me, one of the greatest live albums of all time. And that's what got me into Kiss for sure. And I was obsessed with Kiss for a good 5-6 years as a child.
Yeah.
I mean, everything Kiss. But yeah, it's just wild how you said that it was that album and it was through your cousin, because it's like, holy shit, deja vu, I mean,
and then
you're 2 years older than I am, so I mean,
right.
We have a lot of the same experiences, but still, I mean, that right there, that's wild, through a cousin, and it's that album,
Yeah, I mean, and it's so funny, because even with all later finding out all the studio trickery they fucking did with that record and shit, which is really kind of like fucked up, but then at the same time,
it worked.
they were, yeah, and but also though, I look at them now and I'm just like, you guys are a bunch of phony bastards,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and in a lot of aspects, because to me, like the Dolls, they were more truer to something like that than Kiss were, and I mean,
Yeah.
all they did was just wear some dresses, and stuff, but they killed it better. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that those guys weren't great musicians, because I was actually watching some footage from a live that somebody had posted, which I'd never seen before, like actually from the Detroit shows.
Yeah.
And somebody there, I don't know who it was, but somebody was, I think it was Eddie Kramer actually, who said, well, they weren't great players and this and that. And I mean, and watching the footage, I mean, I'm kind of like, yeah, I can see, what he meant, but it was like they had this gimmick and they ran with it, and then they kind of molded themselves into this thing. But I mean, I pretty much gave up on them after Unmasked came out, because Peter
Yeah.
wasn't playing on the drums. He was on his way out, and then Ace was on his way out too. And it's just, to me, while they had good players, they just weren't the same band to me, and I was way past that anyway. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not really, I wouldn't call myself a Kiss fan anymore. Back when I was a kid, I certainly was. And I still have the utmost respect for them, because they took Rush under their wing,
right,
and they kind of taught Rush how to not how to play live, but to always give their all to their audience. Because I mean, in the Rush doc, Geddy Lee even says that. He's like, hey, regardless of what you say about Kiss and their music and their musical abilities, nobody put on a better show for their fans every night than Kiss. That's the way that it was done back then. And it's like,
yeah,
that's great. I mean, so, but yeah, it, like I said, Kiss to me, they get about the right amount of respect that they deserve.
right.
but
But
but again, like I said, I will always have a big soft spot in my heart for Kiss. I always will.
you just reminded me of something too, and I think you'll get a kick out of this. When I told you that I saw Cheap Trick on those 3 shows where they played their first 3 albums,
Yeah.
for 3 nights and stuff. So the first night there was a Q&A after the first show, and somebody asked Bunny, or he answered the question, opening for Kiss, like when they, like in LA, and when they recorded Kiss Alive 2, and Bunny's like, he goes, oh God. And he's like, there was one of the nights Peter was so fucking drunk that he couldn't, they couldn't get him to fucking play. And so then they asked him, they go, hey, if you just put on the makeup stuff, will you, play? And he's like, fuck no, no, uh-uh. And, and so they wound up, I guess, getting a roadie to fill in for him. They probably put a wig on him, and and he had the makeup on and shit like that. I don't know if he's actually, playing on that record, and stuff, because they recorded several nights and just put the best songs from the,
Right.
But oh man, that was just hilarious.
They didn't perform Beth that night. City says 3 bands that got me into music were Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. I am a metalhead. Absolutely. Black Sabbath was definitely an early band for me. Texas, top 3 Backstreet Boys songs, Barry wants to know. Tell Jimmy you're still on.
No, this is a spam call. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know any Backstreet Boys songs.
Yeah, me neither. I think he was just being an asshole.
I mean, I always used to call them the Backseat Boys, but
Patrick says reggae is beautiful when you see it live.
Oh yeah, well, I've seen several reggae bands. The best one being Steel Pulse, who were fucking amazing.
Neil Young's Arc Weld is my favorite live album. I'm not familiar with that one.
That's the tour that I saw him on when Sonic Youth opened, that I told you about.
Oh, the 2-hour wait?
Yeah, the 2-hour wait and all that bullshit, But that was the tour I saw.
I knew Sean would have something to say about Kiss here. Kiss gets ragged on for a lot of shit, but they got people into a lot of different types of music.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no denying that. I mean, like I was a huge Kiss fan, but then they just lost it for me. Like,
Yeah,
you
when
know,
they did I Was Made for Loving You, that was when I was like, I'm done. I fucking hate that song. And I know a lot of people love that song. It's Kiss Disco. And that killed it for me.
That was actually the one and only time I saw them was on that tour. And I was kind of pissed because by that time they had started on that tour doing, at least like a couple of songs each from their solo records, but then they dropped them as the tour, went on. But that's the one thing I will thank my mom for, because I really wanted to see them on the Rock and Roll Over Love Gun tour or whatever. And
Yeah.
my mom, for some fucking reason, she's like, no, I don't want you to go. I think you're too young to go, and blah, blah, blah. She goes, but I'll promise you the next time they come to town, I'll take you. And she did. She kept her promise to me and stuff, so.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my parents, they indulged in my Kiss shit, because I mean, I had the solo albums, I had all the albums, I had fucking posters on the wall. Every wall in my room was covered.
Me too.
And they didn't have a problem with it. They thought it was just, a gimmick, so to say, he'll outgrow it, that sort of shit. But my grandmother at the time, she was terminally suffering from cancer, so she lived with us for the last 6 months of her life. She went into my room, okay? And I had to take all that shit down because she was convinced that they were double incarnate.
See, that's kind of why I was kind of laughing. Not that she had cancer. I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
but
yeah, no, that was.
But like
that
you were
was
talking
deep.
about the same thing, like with my cousin and you, and this was another thing. My grandmother, fucking, she proclaimed, they're called knights in Satan's service. And I'm like,
yep.
Oh God. Yep. And I go, no.
Yep.
She even tried to tell me by looking at the pictures in the back of 2112, when they're kind of like Getty's in the sweater and he's kind of got his hand kind of looking or whatever. That man's a homosexual. And I said, well, that's kind of hard to believe considering he's married and he's got kids.
I thought she'd be more freaked out about Alex's camel toe on that album.
But I mean, I wanted to kick her in the teeth, when she said that shit. I was just like, oh
yeah,
no.
I loved my grandmother to death. I mean, I miss her every day, but yeah,
I don't miss mine, but
she had a problem with Kiss big time. She had a big time problem with Kiss. Let's see here. Dirk says Iron Maiden is my all-time favorite band. Yeah, I love classic Maiden. The Flame by Cheap Trick is a great song. Yeah, I prefer. I prefer old Cheap Trick when they were, before the ballads.
I think it's funny, just the fact that they'll still play it, but they hate it.
They don't like it either. I know. Megadeth is my all-time favorite band. I love Maiden too. I think Megadeth is criminally underrated. They always get compared to Metallica, and it's like, it's not fair. It's not.
Right.
So, had the honor of booking a show with Cheap Trick. Yeah, I love Cheap Trick. They're from my neck of the woods. Those guys are Illinois royalty. Megadeth is up there, no doubt. Peace Sells is the first I heard of them, but In My Darkest Hour is my favorite song from them. Nostalgia. I think Rest in Peace is the greatest thrash metal album of all time.
I love that. That's the one. That's my go-to.
That album is just, every track on it is just fucking fire. I love it. Patrick says booking Cheap Trick was one of the favorite memories of my music career. Yeah, I bet. Jim, are you serious? About what? The Megadeth thing or what? Because like I said, I love Megadeth and I love Maiden. Oh, Megadeth underrated. I don't mean that they're underrated as far as like the whole genre goes. I think they're underrated as far as like most people either have never heard of them or they listen to Dave Mustaine's voice and they're immediately turned off. And then there's the other people that compare them to Metallica. And again, I don't think that's a fair comparison. They are kind of underrated in my neck of the woods, Sydney. A lot of people, like I said, they don't like them for whatever reason. I love Megadeth. I think they're great. So, English Dogs and GBH.
Yeah, I'm more of a, I love GBH. English Dogs, I'm, sort of, but I mean, I like Discharge and fucking the Partisans and I guess, kind of Vice Squad a little bit more, but, you know, but he knows what I like. So,
Okay, let's get back to some more questions I got for you. What is your best concert experience?
Ooh, there's a few there. Let's see. I would probably be better at saying words. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's my follow-up.
Probably like seeing, I mean, I saw Sonic Youth like 19 times, and pretty much most of the shows that I saw were really good. But seeing like the Pixies early on with Bob Mould opening up for them, that was really good. Man, they're seeing this band from Italy, Raw Power, and jumping on the stage, and they let me sing with them. That was one of my best ones. So, yeah, I was I was wild back in the mid 80s, early 80s, going to hardcore shows and stuff. And I mean, those club shows were some of the really best experiences I had, at shows. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think probably isn't the worst experience because I'll probably think of something else. But seeing Kula Shaker, who they had that song, fuck, I can't think. It was like, but they were like this English, band in the mid '90s who like Haley Mills's son was like the lead singer and guitarist, and they came on stage and they just had this fucking attitude about them, like we're rock stars and all this like kind of crazy shit. And I just thought, wow, you guys, you're not who you think you are, and I just, oh man, it was such a letdown. It was just kind of like you could just feel the audience just sort of changing, but nobody went nuts. But, fuck you, or whatever. But it was just weird. It was like, and at one point they were playing Devil's Haircut by Beck. They had interpolated that in one of their songs because he was like, I love this fucking song, and they started playing part of it, and I'm like, yeah, but of course you like it because it's fucking better than your band,
Nice. Okay, going back to the overrated, underrated. Name a band that just everybody thinks they're the best and you've just never connected with.
There's a lot of fucking like, I don't know. I wouldn't, well, it's like, God damn it.
They want, you're in demand today, buddy.
Jesus. It's like, I would say like, I don't know, like one, I don't know, like Patrick mentions Testament. They never did anything for me, but then I don't like that fucking Canadian overkill band either, as far as like metal bands. There's a lot of really great like thrash metal bands and metal bands, but some of them are so stupid. Like just the people in the band, they're just dumb, it's just like, not that it's supposed to be smart, but it's like, I don't know. I just remember seeing like Iron Maiden, who were fucking great, and Testament was one of the openers, and then some guys from Raleigh, North Carolina, who were friends of mine, Corrosion Conformity, they opened.
Yeah.
But Testament was awful. It was like the guy was telling everybody, you guys gotta get out here and dance. You need to fuck shit up. And then they played a ballad. It's like, yeah, that works.
Here's our new single, Color My World.
You have to remember, Color My World with pigs fucking me.
Nice. All right, now let's flip that. A band that a lot of people just say, they're not very good, and you've always loved.
That would be, probably Shellac, I think, which was Steve Albini's last band. Although, I mean, even Big Black to me is underrated. And then his short-lived band, Rape Man, even I'll say even Jesus Lizard, although Jesus Lizard, since they started doing their comeback, years ago, have kind of, and now even the fact that like Negative Approach, people are kind of getting into them, and nobody, nobody like back in the from like about 81 to 85, gave a shit about hardcore bands, and then all these others sort of started coming out that nobody, oh, these guys are great. And it's like, nah, I've seen it, been there, done that, kind of thing, It just really depends, because that's all kind of subjective. But yeah, shellac to me is pretty much underrated, things like that.
Awesome.
But then,
go ahead.
But I was gonna say, like, bands that I don't know, sometimes you think there'd be bands that you wouldn't think got as big as they were. To me, like Smashing Pumpkins, I thought they were sort of this niche band, and I didn't think they'd get as fucking popular as they did.
Right. Yeah. Okay, before I get back in this, I saw this comment that I just gotta acknowledge here from my good friend Barry here. Jim, did you rock the gold medallion hairy chest look back in the day? I can picture you on the dance floor throwing some shapes. Okay, number one, I don't have a hairy chest now. Okay, so and no, I did not rock the gold medallion look either. As far as the dance floor goes, by the time I was going to the bars and shit, no, the disco years were way over, pal. I don't know how old you think I am, but that's a great comment though, Barry. I love it.
But
and Patrick, I know Patrick's trying to bait me here, but I'm gonna take the bait anyways and tell him there is no universe where Tool is overrated, pal. Tool is incredible. So there you go.
But it's funny, several people mentioned Helmet, and Helmet, are fucking great. But then the coin flip to that one, as far as an underrated band, would be Unsane. Those guys fucking just killed it. I mean, they made this video of their song Scrape, and all it is are like these guys skateboarding and having accidents and shit like that. It's just like, but the song is great. But it was like the perfect video of just watching these idiots skateboard and fuck themselves up. And that, not them, not the band, but other people. It's just ridiculous.
Underrated. The Fugs, Divine's disco albums, and Carp. They're so underrated. I've never heard of any of them.
Jawbox are a killer.
And Dirk says Code 4 is highly underrated. Again, never heard of them either.
I mean, Jawbox, they get it just for the fact that they did a cover of Cornflake Girl. So it's like, and it's great, I always like bands that pull off a weird fucking cover and it being great, like Lemonhead's doing Step by Step by New Kids on the Block. It's fucking absolute gold.
See, I'll probably get some hate from you on this, but I actually like the cover of Cats in the Cradle from Ugly Kid Joe. I do. I like that song.
It's not, well, the thing is, it's not about the song itself, because I like the original. It's the band doing it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
I actually like the first two Ugly Kid Joe albums. I don't think they're great. Don't get me wrong, okay, but I still get entertained by those albums. I think they're fun. Exodus, yeah, Exodus is good. Metal Church, just making sure I didn't miss anything. Dream Theater, yeah. Is Dream Theater overrated or underrated, Sydney? Because I think they're underrated. I love Dream Theater. But again, I'm a drummer, so I'm always attracted to music with, stellar drummers, and Mike Portnoy is a stellar drummer, as is Danny Carey from Tool. So there you go. And I bet Jim did some dirty dancing moves back in the disco days. When I was a kid, yeah, believe it or not, I did. It was funny. I found this out years later, because when you're a kid, you're clueless. But when I in junior high, they used to have, the sock hops and school dances and all that shit.
Yeah.
And I always went and I always danced with every girl. None of my friends would, because they were too, shy and stuff. I danced with every girl because I loved the dance, and I was like, what the hell? Turned out years later, all those girls that I danced with had crushes on me because I knew how to dance and I had no fucking clue. And never found out until years after the fact that it's like, wow, I could have been swimming in it.
Yeah, that shit always kind of sucks,
It's like, hey, drummers got rhythm, Hi guys, some of my favorites: Queen, The Who, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Zeppelin, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Dio, Van Halen, Kiss, Twisted Sister, Rainbow, Stones, Metallica, Angel Witch. I'm familiar with all those bands except for Angel Witch. I like them all except for, well, I don't hate Twisted Sister. I respect Dee Snider for what he did in Congress. I'll always love that guy for that.
Oh yeah.
But out of all those bands that you listed there, Steven, the one to me that doesn't get enough love or attention is Rainbow. I fucking love Rainbow, especially when Dio was the singer. And Sean says, I always confuse Ugly Kid Joe with Trickster. And Dirk says, Tool's bass and drums are hard to match. Absolutely. Lots of people say they are over. Yeah, I get that after I read your comment, Sydney. I figured that's what yours. But again, I think they're underrated. I think Dream Theater's great. Vanilla Fudge and Manila Road. Barry says, I was the Travolta on the dance floor. Believe it or not, Barry, and this is not a joke, in 8th grade, when we graduated to go into high school the following year, our peers basically came up with like categories of what our futures would hold. And my future was Jim will be the future John Travolta.
They didn't do that kind of shit to us in high school. I kind of wish they would have, just because, but we didn't get that. Yeah. But then I didn't vote for this. I don't know who did, but like our graduating song was fucking Open Arms by Journey. And I'm like, I didn't vote for this shit. I'd rather put a gun in my mouth than fucking
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Ours was Roll with the Changes.
Oh, God.
From REO. And I was like, wouldn't Time for Me to Fly be a little more apropos, because we're leaving school, I mean, I didn't want either, but it was like, yeah. Richie Blackmore can kiss the cheetah's ass. Richie Blackmore is a tool. He's a piece of shit, but he was one of the greatest guitarists of his generation. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, that guy, one of the best concerts I ever saw was when Deep Purple reformed for the Perfect Strangers tour in '84, I think it was. And I went to Alpine Valley, the same place where Stevie Ray Vaughan died, but saw them there, and that was the first time I ever saw Blackmore on stage. And I'm sorry, for 2 hours I couldn't keep my eyes off the guy. I mean, he was just laying down some fucking jams that night, man. Dirk says, great convo, great stream. Gotta go, y'all. Stay killer. Thank you so much, Dirk. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. And actually, yeah, wow, time is flying. We are already at the 2-hour mark, but I'm not done yet. So unless you're in a hurry, we're going to go a little long.
I'm not in a hurry.
Because I got another one for you. And I always come up with this scenario. Well, not always, but sometimes. You're on a desert island. Somehow that desert island has electricity. You have 3 albums. What are they?
I probably go with Cheap Trick's first album. Probably because this is one of those that stuff will change, but at this moment,
Yeah, as of today.
Yeah, Cheap Trick's first album, probably. Husker Du's in Arcade and Minutemen Double Nickels on the Dime.
2 I'm not familiar with. Wow, good for you. I'm familiar with the Cheap Trick album, obviously. Okay, same scenario, but you have 3 movies.
Blood Feast, Dolomite, and probably Rock and Roll High School.
Wow. Rock and Roll High School. I was waiting for a Yam movie.
I was actually gonna say Almost Famous, but I say I gotta have one rock and roll movie in there, but I'll go with Rock and Roll High School.
Yeah, I love Rock and Roll High School. I got the steel book for that movie. It's not a good movie, but I love it. Okay, I just want to double check here real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay,
there
no, I
you
did
go,
not.
man.
Oh, there you go. That's the one I got. Absolutely. Okay, Sean says that his 3 albums would be Kiss Alive, King's X, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, and Gary Newman Telecon.
Telecon's a great.
That's an eclectic list there, Sean.
His but there's a couple of albums that were later that I think are underrated. I can't think of the one. Yeah, his album called Dance, with a song on there called She's Got Claws, which is really good. And probably Telecom, is good, but Dance is really good, and it has Roger Taylor playing drums on it.
Yeah, I gotta admit, the only Gary Newman that I know is Cars. Seriously, that's the only Gary
you gotta
song
bone
I know.
up, man.
Yeah,
his 3. Yeah, he's got 3 daughters, and now they're getting into music and stuff. He's got a daughter named Persia and a daughter named Raven. I forget the other daughter's name, but Persia guessed she was on this one song of his called "My Name Is Ruin." You need to check that out, man. Her voice is just like, whoa.
Wow. Alrighty, yeah. Sean agrees. He says Dance is incredible.
Yeah.
And Patrick says sympathy for the record industry also put several important bands out. Oh, okay. Oh, SST Records put some amazing bands. Gotcha. Okay.
They did until they decided they wanted to put almost everything out under the sun. That there's just some weird shit that was like, nope, I won't listen to this.
The Netflix of record labels.
Yeah.
And we've got Pet Sounds, the Gun Club from Miami, and the Pipes of Pan at Jujo. I don't even know how to pronounce that, but okay. And Sean says his other daughter is Echo.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, Pet Sounds, yeah, definitely, of course. And I'm not a huge Beach Boys fan. I mean, to me, Brian is the fucking Beach Boys, and
right.
Mike Love can go fuck himself,
Yeah.
I wish he'd set himself on fire and do us all a favor, but yeah, the Gun Club Miami, fuck that. Oh, you talk about a record that just is incendiary. That record is so good.
Wow. All right. Well, like I said earlier, guys, we are over the 2-hour mark, but we have some more business to take care of. But before we do, I want to give Texas a chance here to plug his channel or any upcoming content that he might have in the pipe. So the floor is yours, sir.
All right, sir. Well, Wednesday, I have a watch party. I'm going to do Hard Eyes. It's a request from one of the people from my channel. Well, actually, she didn't exactly request it. She just asked if anybody had seen it. And I was like, I've seen it. And then I said, you know what? She deserves her choice. So I sent her a message and said, hey, guess what? I'm gonna show Hard Eyes just for you. So there we go.
Is that
So
the
that,
one? Is that the movie that just came out
yeah,
recently? Oh,
yeah,
is that that's already available?
it's on Look Movie. Yeah.
Holy shit, that didn't take long.
Uh-uh.
Oh, okay, cool. That's Wednesday night, you said?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I ain't gonna join your panel, but I'll definitely jump in the
Okay.
chat for that because yeah, I haven't seen that.
And then I might do a random stream, like this, just to kill some time for my StreamYard hours. But I'll have to figure that out because Juno usually likes to show up. And if you would want to be a part of that, even
Absolutely.
if
I'm always willing
even
to
if
throw down with you guys.
Kenny and Sean would too. I mean, I wouldn't mind having them on sometime.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah. Spread the word. And anything coming up with the other two knuckleheads other than that?
Well, I know P Rich is supposed to do a stream for Psycho tonight, a watch party for that, and Sean said he would join him, so he might be on there. I mean, I'm not going to.
Okay.
But Juno Tuesday, he's doing a watch party for the Daredevil movie because he's back into the series, and he's just like, I want to show this movie. So I'm like, cool with me. So that's what he's going to do on Tuesday night.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm not sure what Sean's doing next. So
yeah, Sean doesn't know what he's doing next yet. So that's why we love Sean. He's so spontaneous, So but anyways, yeah, everybody, because I see right here in the comment here, Barry says, Tex, I didn't know you had a channel. I will sub. Yes.
thanks, Barry. No, that's cool.
You can reach Texas at TexasHXC1965. And yes, if you haven't done so already, please, I implore you to go over to Texas's channel, sub to him, sub to Juno, sub to Sean. All three of those guys are incredible people. They do live streams constantly, whether it's a watch party or whatever, and cannot stress enough how incredible all three of these guys are. So no, you guys are. Like I said, Sean was one of the guys that got me into doing the live shit in the first place, and me and you, like I said, we've hooked up quite a few times, So it's all good, and I'm going to get Juno on here as well. So, and eventually, I'm going to get all three of you on here. But like I said, I cannot thank you enough for being here today, buddy. It's been awesome.
I appreciate it. It's like, I can't say it more than enough. It's like an honor because, I don't know, we have like a lot of love for like the same things. And, I like to talk. I could go on for hours, especially about the music thing, since you're so much into music. And
if I wasn't an old man with a bladder issue, man, I can go another 2 hours at least.
No, I hear you.
Because I could talk to you all day long, man. I mean, it's it's just the way it is, So, but anyways, again, everybody, you can get Texas at TexasHXCX1965. That's his YouTube channel. It's just Texas Hardcore. That's what we call him. But just a great guy, and please show him some love. And before we end, I got to wrap up some business here. This coming Tuesday night, March 25th. At 7 p.m. Eastern Time will be the next live episode of Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim. Our topic this week will be our favorite movies starring members from Saturday Night Live's cast through the years. But we are not including the usual suspects. So you're not going to see Animal House, Blues Brothers, Ghostbusters, Happy Gilmore. The movies that are generally universally loved, we're not including those. We're trying to go a little bit deeper than that. And Saturday Night Live's been around for 50 years, so there are a lot of cast members to choose from. So that one's going to be a lot of fun. And again, that one will be Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, the 25th. You can catch that live on Sean's channel at Movie Assault. Here's Sean right there at Movie Assault. Or you can catch that on the Talking Movies with Sean, Kenny, and Jim channel, which is at Talking Movies 2024. And you can watch that show live on either of those, or catch the replay on either of those. You will not be able to watch that show on my channel. However, 2 weeks from today, Saturday, the 5th of April, and I'm not sure, I'm going to leave this one up to the people in the chat, and I'm going to do a poll this week. My very special guest will be Matt from Matt V's Movies from England, but he is only going to be available for an hour. So my question this week to the people is, should I do a 1 hour show next week where it's just me and Matt talking for an hour like I am with Texas here? Or should I do an actual 2 hour show like I normally do, where the first hour, it would just be me answering questions from the chat. And then when he comes in, he joins and we take it from there. So I'm going to leave that poll on my question, on my channel this week. What are your thoughts, Texas? What do you think?
I think, well, I mean, that sounds like a good idea, but I would be a little skeptical that somebody may reappear and you'd be bombarded with a lot of strange and fucked up questions. That's my only caveat about that. I'm like, oh God.
Well, I was thinking that, if I do a Q&A for the first hour, they would not be questions for him. That it was strictly just be for me. And then when we get to him, I would just have the conversation that I was planning on having with him.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I'm trying to save you the trouble of getting,
Oh, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I don't think that's really much of an issue anymore because I haven't really seen that.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
That's just one of those things. It's like, I will pray, please, let this person bombard Jim.
Well, I'm gonna reach out to Matt and see what he thinks, and then I'm also gonna put a poll on my channel this week. But as of right now, the show is still scheduled for 1 p.m. Central Time, like it always is. So that may change, and if it does, I will let everybody know ahead of time. I mean, we're still got 2 weeks before that show actually happens. But again, I want to stress that show will be on the 5th of April, 2 weeks from today, and Matt is coming from the UK. If you haven't gone to Matt's channel yet, he's got a great channel. Really looking forward to talking to him. He's a big James Bond fan. I'm definitely going to be exploiting that angle. So we'll just see where that one goes. But that'll be in 2 weeks. But before I end the show, I do want to go back through the comments, make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see here. Patrick says, talking movies is taking over. Yeah, absolutely, baby. One viewer at a time. It's going to take us about 10,000 years. Okay, Barry says, great stream. Tex is a great guest. Take care, lads. Thank you so much for Barry for being here. It's always great to have you here, my friend. Sean, thank you so much for being here. And yes, we are definitely going to have Texas back on our show because that was a fun show that we had with Texas, especially when he had poor Kenny crying at the end about the yam thing.
And then he misses his own fucking thing.
Words and pictures. Thank you so much for being here as well. I really appreciate that and your support as well. And I think with that one, we are going to call it a show because we're at just under 2:15 now. But Texas, once again, my friend, I want to thank you again for being here. This has been an absolute blast.
I appreciate it a lot. It's, I kind of look at these as that, when somebody says, well, you should write a book, it's like, well, now people will just be able to find video of me just talking and answering questions. I don't need to write a book. You got it all. You got it all here. Stuff.
Yeah, we got ghostwriters in the chat working on us, right? Anthony, get off your memoirs and start working on Texas's book. But regardless, like I said, man, this has been a blast. I really appreciate you being here, man.
No worries, no problem. I appreciate you very much. So thank you.
All right, the mutual love fest is over for the night. Okay, so anyways, everybody that's in the chat that's been here, either whether you were in here live or with the replay, I cannot thank you enough. And we will be catching everybody in 2 weeks, okay? So I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll be catching you later. Have a great day, everybody.